And that 19,000 is about 2.6%. In the construction and maintenance budget, that's where the roadway plan is, the roadway, 10-year roadway plan that we adopted several years ago. And coming up, I think this next year is New Estate Road, Sydney?
Well, we're still, Neshoba is on there.
I think it's
But
New Estate.
But New Estate and
Harbor.
Neshoba are under design right now, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
And then Harbor's, what, about substantially complete?
Yes, yeah.
Except for the puddle.
Yeah. So what's the jump in the $200,000 jump?
That's to accommodate those roads coming up next in the system, because they're major roadways to be repaired. So we needed the additional funding. We put it in like 3 or 4 years ago.
Okay.
So it's been a programmed expense.
Right.
It just happens to hit this fiscal year, so it's, again, to
Okay.
accommodate those.
No, when it's a program expense, I just expect it to be similar every year.
Yep.
And then what's the, I just see the jump, I mean, I'm looking at police details. We got $2,000 in 2012, $800 in 2013, about $15,000 in 2015.
That's what we budget anyway. That's, we used those before. Details are, it depends on where we're working, whether we need them or not. This past year, we've used them quite a bit. The traffic's getting more, so they require more details.
Yeah,
But that's what we budget.
it's always been budget 15,000, okay. All right. It just, it's nice to see that it wasn't all expended, but, just to see.
That's because I'm
Yeah.
cheap,
And under the,
until I get caught.
Yeah, right, well, no.
for the snow and ice budget, we do have that level funded at the 200,000 that we have appropriated for this year, but
Mhm.
we continue to budget $450,000 as a planned deficit, so that we have 650 available for snow and ice removal should we need it. and
Where were we
that's-
last year?
We spent 360, so. But in other years, we have spent over 600,000.
Oh, yeah, I know, I was just curious, because, but the year before that was
Yeah.
very good, and then,
The year before that was bad.
yeah.
Anything
Are
else?
these equipment, again, so when we start looking at capital items, are these prioritized? The way
Yes.
the way you want them?
Yes.
Is that, do I keep asking that? Is that what we ask people to do, is prioritize them?
Doesn't mean, I'll keep asking,
Yeah.
it doesn't necessarily mean they've been prioritized, just because we asked for it.
Yeah, okay.
We've had a 10-year capital plan for
10 years.
20 years.
We've been doing it for a long time.
We've had it for a very long
Yeah,
time.
no,
Plan
it's great.
ahead.
I think ours used to be a 5-year
Yeah.
lookout, and then when you guys went to 10,
Yeah.
Well, everyone else went 5, so you had to exceed that, so you had to go to 10, so.
No, you guys pushed the
You've
10.
got long-term equipment,
What's-
so you really look at it that way, but.
So this crack sealing, have you ever looked, what's crack sealing equipment cost?
We can't do it for what they can.
You can't, okay.
It's, no,
That's not, I didn't know if the equipment was 70,000, then you could.
no, it's, one, you have to have a truck to go get it with.
Yeah.
They have an air compressor
Okay.
truck to blow the cracks out. It's a 3 or 4-man crew.
Okay.
They come in, it's about $5,000 a day.
What do we have, when we had to maintain our driveway, it was half a day, I think it was 200, it was 3,000, yeah, $3,000 for like a half a day.
Yeah, and we're prevailing wage, so.
Yeah. All right.
Anything else?
How we doing on the problem we discussed earlier in the year about who does what maintenance on fields and where the money is going to be allocated from, parks, or, that's an issue that's been ongoing. And it's one that you always bring up, that you feel you're unfairly treated, so.
We've had a couple of issues last year. I know the school has made a couple of changes, but there's still significant disconnect of who owns what. We're sort of the end. We don't pay for anything except employees. So they have to fight it out amongst themselves what they want done.
How about in terms of a process? So that, I know part of the problem is you get things landed in your lap, too. Is there any effort to improve that? I know you guys have, a signed agreement, right, on stuff, but that doesn't mean you aren't going to get hit with the last-minute request.
Correct, that's what we're trying to do,
Yeah.
but it has to come from the other side.
No? Who's? Who's on top of that? You guys? That's out of our bailiwick.
Well, we haven't heard a lot of it lately. I know we
That's
would
because,
be,
like, I mean,
MOAs
when
and
things
things like that
get
straight
flipped
into
onto
town.
me, I flip them onto Keith, and then
yeah,
he flips them back to them, and then we don't hear
Everybody's
anything
flipping
back.
each other.
yeah.
And that's the way it works.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't come to me and say, I need this done tomorrow, it just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
I mean, again, here we are in a budget a year away, so if they don't plan ahead, I mean, how do I plan ahead? Anything that they want to do, they should be here before you, to say, this is what we're
Well,
planning
actually,
to ask him to
schools were here
do.
this morning in Park and Rec, and we saw the capital, we saw both their capital budgets, so theoretically, anything that would eventually, potentially land in your lap, we would have already heard about if.
Well,
if
no,
things
because it's the
worked well.
small stuff. If
No,
things were,
you're
it's the
right,
small
you're
stuff,
right.
you know,
Yeah.
the sidewalk in front of the high school we
Yeah.
need fixed.
Yeah.
Oh, let's, call Jimmy, which, maybe there is a process where your crew could do it, but it just, the process has to be there. And I don't know if we can always, anticipate every little thing that happens. So if we have something to handle the big stuff now, and, you guys can work out the small stuff,
Well, maybe you guys institute a little policy as to if there is a little small thing, what route does it go in?
just what we need, another little policy.
Yeah, well, only when there's a problem. I don't believe in making it when there isn't one.
No, I know. Well, and then that's the thing, to answer to Al, we haven't heard, it hasn't come down to us that much, if Keith and
Yeah, I mean,
Jimmy handling it.
ordinarily, when issues come up like this, if it's not a major dollar amount, but it's just more of a nuisance or just a continuing problem, then, I think the town departments as a whole do an excellent job of trying to work things out amongst themselves. And as you hear, at the end of the day, the expense is paid for either by schools or Park and Rec. Yes, the highway provides the staff. So if it becomes a major thing, as we had a year or so ago about the,
Sidewalks.
as we said, the sidewalks in front of Shaker Lane School, then we've got to raise that up to a higher level.
Yeah, I don't think that, it's primarily a management issue to the extent that it's an issue at all, and I think from the finance perspective, our interest is if it's a chronic issue that comes up every year, is that an indication that it's not being programmed properly on a financial level? But if it's just small stuff, and that's not the
It
case.
doesn't appear to be chronic. I don't know. If it were chronic, we'd be hearing more from,
If we
more
were
likely
getting
hear more
stuck
from
with
me.
the bills, then you'd be hearing a lot more.
I think Jim keeps a lot of it to himself, and he probably loses sleep over it rather than bothering everybody else with it.
Well, that's why I bring it up, because it's an issue.
Well, I mean, frankly, when they come to us and say, do this, it's like, no. It's like, as they say, show me the money.
All right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why it goes to Keith, and you say, how do you want to handle
As I
this?
said,
Yeah.
at the moment, it sounds like a management issue, so if you guys handle it, that's terrific, doesn't really land in our lap then.
That's a good point to bring up.
Well, because there was part of the discussion of, the school owns sidewalks, or don't they? I mean, so we're just unclear, it's like no man's land. So they say we need them fixed. Well, I didn't plan on that. If it's gonna go in the priority of this,
Sounds like they've
it's
been
gonna be
talking
near
to
the
state.
bottom.
Well, maybe we do have to look at something, come up with some definition of
Yeah.
who owns and maintains what. Yeah. Okay.
So new policy, you're suggesting that? Ed?
No, definitions.
Definitions, committee, guidelines.
First paragraph of a policy.
All right, anything further from either FinCom or selectmen members? Jimmy, thank you for joining us, hope you didn't infect us, hope you're
Coming
feeling
early.
better.
Yeah.
I think I'm over it now, I just can't talk.
Yeah.
It was all right
It's a
earlier.
mixed blessing.
It's good for his
It's a
life.
mixed blessing.
Now we're ahead of schedule.
Great.
That's all right.
Keep calling people in. Right.
Travis is ready.
Oh,
and
geez, here we
Roland's
go.
here, we're all
We're
set.
permitted to be
Now
ahead
you're
of
done.
schedule, that's okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
There goes our schedule.
We will do look forward to hearing the results and suggestions of that
Yeah, from the
management
highway
study
manager.
too.
Yeah, and then
So
you'll
we-
report
we
back to
will-
the selectmen with that, and then
We'll be
we'll
back, yeah, we'll.
make final recommendations too.
Great.
But-
On a
I
mission.
will say, one of the things I thought was interesting was, we had a very small part of the beginning of it, and he had some stuff about equipment. I'm an equipment guy. So we had the average age of our dump trucks is 18.5 years. When you put it on paper, it doesn't look very good.
Go look at the fleet, they look a lot
Yeah.
newer than that. Yeah, you do a
good,
great
depending on how you
job.
look
You
at
have to go by the actual, how old they are.
But they're
Thank you,
still,
Jim.
still too young to drink, right?
Yeah. I say we go forward.
Oh, no, well, Travis is here, He's due at 1:30. Cyrus, would you like to come on?
Oh, they have it?
And we have you listed down here as light and water, and it's appropriate for the annual discussion that, while the water department has a, budget line item in the town's budget, we were also interested in any update on the general finances of light and water, knowing that you are on a whole different fiscal year schedule, and in case there are new faces at the table, if you can give us any kind of an update on, or explanation on that, that'd
I would be
appreciated.
happy to. I did not bring anything for light because I saw on the agenda it was only water.
Right.
But, and I do not have a budget because I don't even start budgets till February for the water department and January for the light department. Because being a rate-based department, we need to have a sense about where our rates are.
By the way, for our audience, those who don't know, this is Savas Danos, the general manager of the light and water departments.
It was a good day.
And short-term pro tem?
Yeah, easy. Jeez, everyone's trying to kick me out of
Not
here.
me, no,
What did I
stick
give
around,
you?
stick around.
Okay, the first graph is which one?
Gallon per day
Gallons per day.
per person.
Good, and the second graph I'm going to pass out will be the household quantities.
Oh, that's the one I already have.
No. One's gallons per day, one's household annual use. It just happens to be same color. Unless I gave you...
Same title?
I did.
Annual household bill.
Okay.
I have two of the same one.
Well, obviously, I should put my glasses on.
I got different ones.
Okay. I'll take both and see who needs which
We
one.
could just share this one.
No, let's do it
Oh,
right.
no
I
sharing.
got one of those. That's the extra one I put out there.
Well, that's
I need the one that says gallons at the top.
gallons. You have gallons of household.
I need to, I got
You
I've
need
got
gallons.
household,
Need extra
I
time built into the schedule.
I've got to go for both gallons and house.
No, you don't,
And a
okay.
schedule.
I got gallons, I need
Okay, you need
household.
household.
I get
Good.
gallons.
Those are the important issues, okay. Household, you need?
I'm good.
You need
I'm
household.
good.
I know. There should be different colors, but I stuck to blue so that everyone would have a sense about the colors.
Well, it should be blue and gold.
It should be,
Yeah.
exactly, so blue and green. And what do we need down here? Share, because I think the rest is the same. Household bill? You need, right? Household. Okay, and I will speak as I pass out additional
I
things.
have two of the same.
What don't you need? What-
I got it.
This would be easy now. As a water department, starting in 2013, we're required by the state to have a per capita consumption, residential per capita consumption of less than 65 gallons per capita per day. Okay? That's because the state, in all their wisdom, believes that people should not have green lawns. In order not to have green lawns, they put a restriction on basically summer watering. In this community, we've done an exceptional job. And it's easy in a town like Boston or Lowell or Lawrence because, again, those are urban environments with a lot of apartments and condos, and people don't have lawns. But in communities like ours and others like ours with zoning that's typically 1 or 2 acre, or in my hometown, Groton's 2 and 5 acre, it becomes very difficult, especially when you're developing properties like Apple Dior, which has a clay base, and so the septic systems, as the Board of Health knows, are much larger than typical because of the slow perk rates. So we end up getting people's half-acre front lawns, which they can't plant anything on, because the Board of Health's criteria years ago was if it's nothing else, it's a bedroom. So all these houses are built as 7 bedrooms for the environment. You end up using a lot of water to water these front lawns. So you're caught in a catch-22.
But that's all been changed.
It all has been changed, but all those houses were built back then. But
Yeah.
although we have that dilemma as a community, we've been able to very effectively maintain the 65 per gallon per capita rule. In fact, Littleton's amongst the lowest of similar communities in the amount of water people consume. So that's an exceptional, that's good news. The bad news with that is, of course, that we are revenue-based, and in order to pay our bills, we need to sell water. So, as much as we've been exceptional, and we are an environmentally astute town, it also is shooting ourselves in the foot, mostly when looking at capital improvements to meet drinking water criteria and the growth of the community. So on our first graph, we give our annual household per capita consumption. We do exceptionally well. In the second graph, we show that not only are we doing exceptionally well, but damn, we're pretty damn cheap compared to other similar towns. In this case, we use those communities, again, residential bill, that have, similarly to Littleton, are in the 21st century in the fact that they're using treatment technologies. If you go into a town like Pepperell and Townsend, the water bills there are exceptionally low because they're still not treating the water, other than maybe addition of chlorine and or corrosion control. they aren't treating the water, so they're still back in the 20th century in terms of water rates because they don't have the capital improvements that our communities around here have.
So quickly, what are the treatments, what are the additional treatments that we do?
We have a treatment plant at Spec Pond for the removal of iron and manganese, and we're building a treatment plant at number 2L for similarly removal of iron and manganese, which will help us as regulations become more and more stringent, specifically for manganese. So I've compared our water rates, we've compared our water rates to other similar towns that are going through capital improvement stages, and note that for the typical household, again, our rates are below others of a similar ilk.
And these are municipal water departments in these other towns?
Yeah, these are all municipal water departments. And very few have sewer, too, because if you go into a department, like, we won't compare ourselves to air, because air is water and sewer and water under the same roof, DPW, creates a completely different mouse in terms of who's helping who, pay for what. A lot of towns are charged less for water, more for sewer, others charge more for sewer, less for water, so you get into that dilemma. And the third graph is the elephant in the room graph, and that's what's going to happen with the impact of our new treatment plant, which will be coming online in FY15. So our immediate need is to make sure we put enough money away to handle the initial bond debt. And the reason why the bond debt's so high the first year is it's the first year of the new bond debt, $3.7 million, $3.8 million bond debt. It's also last year of other bond debt indebtedness. And then after that, it adjusts a little bit better. So our big issue is to put away an additional $500,000 the first year on a $2.2 million budget, which we're working on. It may require the first of the year another rate increase of 10 to 15%, or we may do it with just, as we did originally with the Spec Pond well, we may do it with a surcharge on bills specifically for paying off that debt. So it's, because by doing that then, it's a known entity. If you have 2,000 customers, you divide by, obviously small business, large business, and you give them a surcharge, if you will. So we're going to determine that over the next few months, which way to apply for and to accommodate the initial impact of the large debt service on the new treatment plant. And then once we get over the first year of $720,000 additional dollars, we get more into a $580,000 on down additional debt service, which is very, very doable. So that's why the surcharge might just be for 1 year. And lastly, the last thing I passed out is the water cash report. And I should really give these to Bonnie as well. I have a copy of Bonnie. And that's basically...
Just in terms
Sure.
of what kind of budget you have, the water department is an enterprise?
Yes.
fund, Correct? Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. The water department is totally an enterprise-funded organization, meaning that we pay our debt service, our reimbursement to town for insurances, et cetera, and pay all of our fees and pay all of our expenses from the revenues we raise exclusively. We have no impact at all on the tax base of the community. And through our efforts with the light department, where we have the synergism, we pay the town $200,000 for services rendered to the treasurers and accountants' offices because they process all our bills. If you take into consideration the light department being $33 million and the water department being another additional $2 to $3 million, we account for half the money generated through the community, so we pay half their bills, just as an agreement that we've made. So that's something that Bonnie knows and should be putting down as a revenue source, that being the money the light department gives the town for services rendered. So what I've shown you then on the last page is just where we are through September. We're doing well. We have expended $390,000. We've taken in $600,000, but bond debt is throughout the year. We've only paid $57,000 in bond debt, so we're doing well. And it's a function of dry weather, a function of connection fees. Connection fees are down to nothing. They've come back significantly. We've had 15 new connections in the last few months. Not that we try to promote new services, but new services, that money goes directly into debt service to support our capital improvements. That's a quick scenario. I'll be able to give you a lot more details about capital expenditures and of our where we're going to go after the first year once we get 6 months of revenue stream in and have a better sense about what we'll need to do to meet our bond indebtedness for the first year, which is basically the big issue that we face.
Do you want to speak a little bit just about, in general terms, not specific to operating budget, but the light department
Sure.
side of the house? And
Our light department's doing very well. We do have the lowest electric rates in Massachusetts, not New England, and a lot of people have called me after we pulled the article on the landfill and said, well, why don't you do what Acton's doing? I said, well, we were planning on trying to do what Acton was doing. The only difference in Acton is that Acton was a third party who put the solar panels in and received a 50% subsidy tax reduction, which none of us could do in town. But more importantly, in Acton, the rate that companies charge in the town for the solar panels on the landfill is 11.5 cents per kilowatt hour. Acton pays around 16 cents per kilowatt hour. In Littleton, municipal government pays less than 10.5, so it's a bad deal. So one of the problems with us doing it in-house is that because our rates are so low, it becomes very difficult
Right.
to promote it yourselves. However, even with that said, last week, and I think it was announced in the paper and it'll be in our newsletter, we did do a public-private partnership. We have a 4-megawatt solar array online now on Distribution Way behind the Sample property. That's fairly impressive, both on the ground and on the roof. And you, the ratepayers of Littleton, are receiving the full output of that. We're paying about 10 cents for that, which is above our average cost, but because it's helping with our peak shaving, it's a very good asset for us. And again, the reason why it's cheaper or why we could buy the output for 10 cents is because, again, that company that built them can do it effectively and efficiently, and more importantly, they get a big tax write-off. And that's where the incentive is to do this. And so that's a 20-year contract with us. So the town's doing very well. In fact, we're going to be at 50% renewables by the end of 2015, and that will put us at the forefront of municipal government, if not all of the investor-owned communities in New England, and still maintain some of the lowest rates in New England because we're doing it without subsidies. We aren't subsidizing it. We're doing it with deals like we do with everything, and either we make the deal, and it's a good deal, and it's good for the ratepayer, or we don't. And that's what happened to landfill. Landfill is not a good deal for the ratepayer. It doesn't mean we're not going back to the landfill. It doesn't mean we're not going to try again. New technologies are coming out. The wafers, the solar panels are becoming much thinner and much lighter, and lighter and thinner solar panels will allow us the opportunity to build on that steep slope without the huge capital investment for the civil engineering costs. So we'll bring this back.
The site remediation costs that were
That
driving the thing?
that drove it up over what was typical, along with not getting a tax incentive
Right.
as municipal government. So that those two things were the elephant in the room. On the front, since Jim's in the room, we do a lot of work with the Highway Department, Light, Water, and Highway. I have a partnership that's second to none, I think, and a lot of the stuff we do, you folks never find out about. It's better left that way. Even though the consultants have tried to say
We are on
to the
live
contrary.
TV,
It's okay.
so-
No. I'm saying that there's a synergy that's second to none in terms of the way we share during emergencies and the way we use personnel in those rare instances when we need to, and we make sure we work it out and that all parties are equitable in the decision making. An example of that will be that right now we're designing a new fuel storage facility of the town, and the way we did it last time and the way we're going to do it again this time. Last time being 20 years ago. The Light and Water Department will pay for the cost of the fuel facilities installation. It will be about, by the time it's done, Jim, $400,000, including engineering?
I think it'd be less.
That 300? Okay, I embellish on Greek. So let's say it's about $300,000 undertaking. So the Light Department will take that capital expense because we can depreciate it, and it helps in our rate depreciation. And then the town, through the Highway Department, will be responsible for maintenance. So it's a perfect win-win. And if you try to put down paper and figure out who's going to come ahead, don't waste your time because you can never win in this battle. Somebody always comes out ahead, but from perspective of just the partnership that we have, that's a perfect example of the kinds of things we do together that the town has benefited, and I hope Light and Water and Highway all benefited equally. So that's an example of the things we're doing. The forward pricing for natural gas, which is what we base our electric rates on, look very, very favorable to us. We're in the middle
What
of
percentage of the power mix that you're buying?
about 50% now. Although we may not have it contractual, because we have such a high load factor with the large companies in town, we're able to benefit significantly by the off-peak fuels that are below market, and that's generally gas, natural gas right now.
Even
That's-
though natural gas prices are going up, it hasn't...
Yeah, but going up, it's relative. We're buying futures, and so ours aren't going up. In fact, we're looking at
Right.
lower prices next year because
Really?
we bought futures and captured the market at its lowest, at a very, very low end about 18 months ago.
Okay.
Part of the reason why they're going up is because of the fact that the United States will become an exporter. There are some LNG facilities being built offshore to bring in natural gas. Well, they aren't going to bring natural gas, they're going to export natural gas now, because we are becoming a net exporter of gas. And
There's good news and
That's
bad news.
real
It's
news,
good
yeah.
news that we have the capacity to send it out there, but the bad news is we don't have the internal infrastructure to deliver it to our own
Exactly.
markets.
Well,
Now, let's get back on track.
okay, it's getting better. What else?
We got plenty- We're 5 minutes into his half hour.
I know, but he's gonna put, he doesn't like Sal's put us right back on budget, on time. If you want to talk,
no,
We're 25 minutes ahead of schedule here.
Hey,
yeah,
just
it's-
building that-
it's a long day.
being ahead of schedule is not a
This
reason
is
to go
how
back
you
on
build
being
a budget,
schedule.
is planning ahead.
Exactly, exactly. And
I know, we're not
obviously-
talking about exporting, US
Obviously-
exporting,
Well, that's
natural
okay,
gas.
because of ratepayers. Obviously, we're in the middle of the construction beside us here. You will, since we are on television, I will explain that you will see those poles, the existing poles in the ground all winter. We were delayed almost a year before we could start construction due to some, what's called value engineering that was done by the engineers for the developer, and that turned full circle. We'll be done our work within the next month. But then the telephone company will have to do that work, and they have a lot of work to do. They have a 2,000 cable to splice. They say it's gonna take them 6 months. Can't take 6 months because of what they're hoping to open, but those poles will be removed sometime at the end of the winter for final paving. But they will be there all winter. And it's not our fault. It's others.
So, get back to capital, you said you're not gonna have anything for capital until after January?
I don't know if well, I have it, but I didn't bring it.
All right, can we get that? I mean, it'd just be,
I have to give it to my board first, you know. That's what I
yeah,
answered
well,
to.
it's just, we get everybody's capital expense, we wanna see.
But
if-
our
if-
capital expense don't affect your budget at all, they affect our budget.
Yeah, okay.
So
Yeah, right,
I'm
fair
doing it as a
point.
courtesy
All right.
to you, and we'll
Okay,
put
all right,
together.
fair
Once
point,
I
all
give
right.
it to my board,
Okay.
then I'll bring it to you.
But Park
All
and
right,
Rec
so
is
no,
on a
that's
capital
what-
budget, on a enterprise budget too, and they were in here with their capital budget.
Well, I've never done that before this early for you.
I know, we are starting early. I'll agree with that.
No, I know,
I'm
but,
happy to.
you know, I was thinking, all right, I
not
thought
gonna
it came
make
out,
that
I thought it was
mistake.
gonna be a budget item, so if it's, I just wanna have all the items that have to go on the capital budget, the town capital budget.
They won't go on yours.
All right, then that's fine.
But the point is, it's
Yeah.
still important that I bring it to you, so we're all on the same page.
Yeah, that's okay, all right.
That it's being developed as we speak.
Okay.
Because again, some of the things change, and one of the issues are, you know, just with developments going in town, and you have a wish list, and you can have a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan, 20-year plan, but that plan's adjusted according to where the demands
Yeah.
or regulatory issues come about. So I basically look at 5-year capital plans because anything outside that is a window of just
Right,
wish
right, no, that's fine.
Well, we're, very much aware that things change, but we're trying to capture a snapshot in time. So, to the extent that, a lot of the stuff is in the works with the
Okay.
water capital, that's understood, but we
Okay, I'll be
appreciate
happy
you
to
being
put it
here.
together. I mean, I have it all, I just didn't bring it.
Anything else, folks?
I have one question, like, it's on the water bill. It says someone asked me this question, didn't have the answer for it. When it says level 1, and you have a price, level 2, what's the difference?
Okay, that's a Drought 65 program. We've calculated what the average home of 5 uses again in the wintertime as a level 1 standard, and then there's a premium above level 1. You have level 1, 2, 3, and 4, so it's an ascending block rate based on water use. So if you have a green lawn and using water from the Littleton Water Department, and you have a large property, more than likely in the summer, not as much this summer because June and July were fairly wet. It got dry in August, and then after that, but people didn't use the water as much. But if you're under level 2, 3, or 4, it's because you're using a lot more water, so you're paying a premium. It's something that's advocated by the state, and it also basically, as you pay, you pay more for those luxuries.
Oh, thanks, because I couldn't
It's
answer
a-
that question.
Yeah, it's supposed to be in the back of the bill.
And I didn't even know you had 3 and 4. I just saw.
Yeah, we have up to 4. We'll make that clear. We're changing that. That's another good point to bring up. We're changing a business billing system. We're going to a company called Northern Data. And so we are going to redo our light and water bills and try and make them a little bit more user-friendly. And some of those things to try to convert them to gallons. Although the bill will still be in cubic feet for water, will be a conversion for gallons in the last column, just to give people a better sense of what, because people understand what gallon is, no one knows what cubic foot is. It's one of those oddities of the business. I'd be happy to come back to you at the end of the process with the full light budget and capital plans for light as well,
Yeah,
because
I mean-
we do so much interactive in town. We are still one
When
community.
you have that, the capital plan for the water, I'm
Okay.
sure we'll want to review that, but I
Okay,
mean,
we'll
that's
come in January.
whatever you have.
That works for you.
Okay.
Good.
Anything else, folks, for Travis, Light and Water Department?
Cell tower funds, we're gonna have a discussion, are we gonna need to have a discussion about that between now and annual town
I'd love
meeting?
to, but it had no chance in hell, so if you want to put that on the table for us to try and get that money, I'd be happy to.
No, but we know that.
It made sense in the
we know that
context.
Of course it does.
Yeah.
We know that things come in at the last minute sometimes,
No,
and I just wanted to know whether that was.
The only thing, I know better than to shoot myself in the foot, but the one thing I can say is that there's been a lot of movement, and I will be going out for the vacant cell tower positions, because there will be 2 in Oak Hill, there is 1 in Newtown Hill, so those have direct impact to the town, as well as a few on the well site at number 2 well, which is water department. So right after I get back from Thanksgiving, I may be going out to bid for first of the year for a full review of all of the cell tower sites, and see if we can get more users. The cell towers are there, they have a certain amount of capacity. We're losing money if we don't have people on it, so we're hoping to get some new 4G companies coming out. Might be a little premature, but I was told there was some interest, so we'll see if we can get some new leases to fill those up.
Prices holding all right, or do you know yet?
I'll start, the price has come down a little bit now, even though some of the primary sites, but unless you're a new company, the secondary, tertiary sites. So we'll start at $1,500 and see what we get. Hopefully there's some bidding that makes a few of the sites much more favorable. We have some sites, right now, 2 sites that are each paying, just one vendor in those sites are paying $4,000 a month, because they've been here for so long. They started at maybe $1,200 15 years ago, but with the escalators, that's where we're at now. So they're premium sites, they seem to be doing well. So that's important to the town.
Very good.
In terms of revenue opportunities, new revenue opportunities, additional revenue opportunities.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, well, thank you
Appreciate
for
coming out.
having me.
Making the trip down here from Groton, the whole town of the 5-acre lots, and
Oh, by the way, how'd we do last
and the
night?
heavy water usage, and...
How'd we do last night?
They won.
All right.
All right, thanks.
Mr. Chairman, I am going to take my leave again, and I'm sorry.
We'll miss you. Good
Yeah.
luck.
But I do want to,
You coming back?
no, I don't think, I'll be back at, 2:45.
We're gonna wrap up
And so
early.
yeah, so I just want to thank everybody who did take the time and stick it out through the whole one, and commend everybody for your dedication, and thanks. Even though I couldn't do it, I appreciate, what all of you do for the town.
Thank you for your limited
So, yeah.
dedication.
Yeah, my limited dedication, right. My limited Saturday.
Good luck, Gary.
So thanks, sorry.
All right. What are we, got a vice chairman down here? Well, you're next.
Come on, Joe.
I'm fine right here.
He's all time.
All right, it's a little ahead of schedule, but that's terrific. Glad a couple of you folks came in early. We've got Myron is next on our, of the 2 that are here, Myron and Roland. If you want to come up and... Come on up.
Don't think I'm not leaving with those.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, these guys just showed up, actually.
Hey, how are you?
Thank you, terrific.
Have a seat.
Perfect timing, come on up.
Are we 3 minutes early?
Well, we're ahead of schedule, and that's our motto around here, under budget and ahead of schedule, right?
Where do you want us to sit?
Right here is fine, yeah. You guys go everywhere together, huh?
Yes. We're like twins.
Yeah.
But we're the old guys on the
In the balcony on,
Pretty old guys here.
on the historical commission.
Oh,
We had a renewal.
no, only to my right.
We had a renewal of membership on the commission.
Great.
On the committee, and that's really good, and so we're the old ones.
okay. Well, we do this kind of informal. I think one of both of you were here last year when we did it, and of course Betsy and I had a chance to meet with you a few weeks ago, and that was great. The cable television folks have asked that we have our guests introduce themselves by name and who they're representing, and then when you do that, you can just give us a general overview of both your budget, and you've got some, obviously some capital interest too going on right now with the building, but anyway.
I'm John Ledger, Chair of the Littleton Historical Commission.
I'm Jonathan Leibowitz, Vice Chair of the Littleton Historical Commission.
Okay.
And our budget last year was all of $700. And incidentally, that's the same budget that we had in 1982.
Give it historical context,
We're
right?
trying to cut expenses.
Right.
But Jonathan, you might want to say a few words.
Well, first of all, we'd like to thank you for your support at the special town meeting. We, as I'm sure you realize, we intend to use those additional funds to work on a grant proposal to the CPC, and that would be, of course, for the for the restoring, re-erecting, I guess you might say, of the long store, which we have, the parts of which, or many of the parts of which we have in storage. And so.
Used to be right out that window.
Right, yeah.
Oh, they're right across the street.
Yes.
Well, that's where it was.
I thought
It
they were-
was.
Oh, no. It's being stored in air, isn't it?
It's being stored at the old Rosley place.
Okay.
Oh, no
hotel.
kidding.
Yeah. And it's storage and
They always had a few
installed vents.
vacancies there.
Yes.
So it's in a big trailer, and it's, we want to get it, we'd like to get it put up again as quickly as possible, because the longer we spend, the longer the wood spends in storage, the more likely it is that something will go wrong, though we did have it all sprayed for insect and so on, and as John just said, we had some vents installed in the trailer, so hopefully it won't get too moist and such. So our big work this year would be, with the additional funding that we got from you, to hire an architect who would work with us to present a proposal to the CPC for probably at this point, because of time constraints and so on, probably at this point for a larger amount of basically money for a feasibility study of, what it would cost basically to put it up. We don't think we'll have, within the space of before the next town meeting, we don't think we'll be able to get an actual cost estimate for the reconstruction, so probably this would be for a much expanded feasibility study.
Probably not at the annual town meeting, probably at either a subsequent special or annual
Well,
town
at
meeting.
the annual town meeting for the money for the feasibility study.
Okay.
And then with the, from CPC funds. And then with those funds, then we would look to develop a whole proposal, which then would be a much more substantial project, and then that would come, hopefully, if we could get that by a special town meeting in the fall, or, something of that sort.
We have a meeting scheduled with Paul Mahoney, an architect, next week, so we're getting the ball rolling on that. We'll see how that goes.
We'd like to move as quickly as we can on that part of it, so we could get support from the CPC for a.
And if you did get the building up and erected again, then you might be looking at some annual maintenance costs and increased expenses there.
Possibly, yeah.
Bonnie, have you given thought to that at all down the road, or is it a little early in the game?
It's a little early, I haven't had any data to really.
Well, we don't either, so that's, and it's possible, one of the ideas that we've had is to re-erect the building across from the Historical Society at 306 King Street, and then, again, this is, we have many steps before we're actually going to say this, and I almost hesitate to say it because we haven't
Just an
talked with
option, right?
them.
It's an option
But,
at this point.
and then possibly we get, they might be prepared to do some of the, spend some of the funds for supporting that if they would be using it significantly. But again, that's, a number of steps in.
Yeah.
We want to work closely with the Historical Society. A lot of the artifacts they have in storage or they're on display, and if we work closely together as a team, I think it would benefit a lot for the townspeople.
Yeah, and that would, then, even in terms of cost, but certainly in terms of usage and so on, because they're quite, as you know, they're quite active.
Sure.
So your plan for hopefully getting to the point where you put it back up and in service,
Yes.
is that CPC funds going to,
It would be mostly.
Probably, yeah.
or are
Especially
you
in the
coming
beginning
to
stages.
town appropriated funds?
I think
Well,
initially.
The answer will be CPC funds.
CPC funds, right now, of course,
Right.
we don't have much of a sense of how much that's going to be, but
From their standpoint, the competition is better. They're they're one of four categories as opposed to competing with
On the capital
fire
plan,
station, highway, all the other things.
it makes a lot of sense for us since we're.
There's a shorter line
we're
that
a
you get to
designated-
stand it.
And we're a designated category in the CPC set of,
Yeah.
You know you're entitled to something.
yes.
Well, according to Bonnie, our historical commission has $27,208 set aside for their use with the CPC.
So,
Well,
I thank Bonnie for
historic,
giving us-
historic resources.
Resources.
That's that.
That's what I meant to say.
Right. Could technically go to people
Not
other than
just
you.
Yes, we understand that, and I think, last year we did
was a safe for the town
recommend
clerk, yeah, right.
money from that
But
fund.
we
for
do
the
give
same.
special points to people whose budget hasn't gone up in 20 years.
That
They
disappointed
will
time,
score
it was
very
higher
well
than
on
that in 93 and 94.
And we keep our payroll in check. We don't, we haven't had any payroll increase since 1982.
No raises.
No.
Once upon a time, when I was on the historical commission, we used to, every year, do some work in the old cemetery.
Oh, yeah.
And we used to, we hired some people to come out and repair broken stones,
Yeah.
historical stones. We got very good at it to the point where we didn't hire them anymore because we knew how to do it.
Yeah. And you did a great job.
But I wondered if, I haven't seen that going on lately, and I wondered if it was just, did we get everything done, or?
It's in
Or-
good shape, the old cemetery. Years ago, when you were on the commission, before the work got done, it was getting overgrown and that type of thing, so it needed work badly, I remember that. And it was done, so that's good. Jenna's father used to be on the commission also years ago, I read.
Yeah.
So I'm glad everybody's familiar with the historical commission anyway.
Okay, and we have thought about, and I think, at some point we really want to do this, some of the monuments at the Liberty Square could use some cleaning up. There's been some lichen and so on that's grown on them, and we have looked into possibilities of cleaning that. We need to pursue that.
That's not considered patina? An aged patina with the lichen?
Well, since in some spots it covers over some of the incision, some of the names and so
We'll
on. It
invite a
might be-
whole new debate on that. It'll be like the Antique Roadshow, Don't remove the patina.
Right, right.
All right. Okay. Anyone have any questions or comments for our Historic Commission representatives? No? Thank you for
Thank
your
you very
good
much.
work and your,
Thank you for your help.
Thank you for your support.
Yeah, thank you, Keith.
Look forward to seeing that building go up at some point.
Thanks so much. Yeah, that'll be for the next person. Okay. Yeah.
Myron, thank you. Sorry we upstaged you there. You were ready to go, and appreciate it too.
Anticipation's part of the fun.
Absolutely. I was so glad not to follow right after Savas, where he likes to use 100 words. If I can get by with 2, I'm very happy.
What tab is planning?
Tab is mine.
It's
6.
6. It's kind of in the middle of tab
Are we
6.
6?
Yeah. Tab 6. Or 5 for those of you.
I did that.
You're 5 in the weird books.
Yep.
Put it in the middle.
And start off with conservation. Are you in the same
think so.
packet with that?
Kind of in the
Part of
middle.
conservation?
Yep.
It's in the middle of, oh, I see. Tab 6 has all the land use and permitting.
Oh, I see, it's in the middle of 6.
Are you, but you're just speaking to planning, Myra.
Yeah.
Feel free to offer opinions on the other boards too.
Let me find it, I guess.
2 words.
Okay. I can't- It's in there, it's in the middle, it's right after conservation, I think, right? No, right after
Board of
appeals,
Health.
Board of Appeals.
Main part.
All right. Well, just for our television audience, if you wouldn't mind just introducing yourself and who you're representing, and then you can have right into it.
Oh, absolutely. Maureen Toohill. I am the entire planning department. Budget process. Proposing a small increase in expenses. Some of the board members have been hoping to go to a few more conferences, a few more training sessions, and I'm fully supportive.
Good idea.
$300 additional request for that. Requesting level staffing. I'm very comfortable with my 35 hours a week. I get to get away for 1 day a week, and I still cover night meetings as needed. Let's see, this year, some of the activities we have going on is, starting in January, we'll be dealing with the bylaw for May town meeting for medical marijuana. We've got the moratorium in place now that will expire end of June. How to address that's going to take up quite a bit of time this spring. Let's see. Building department is going to be getting electronic permitting software. We're hoping to tag along on that so we'll be implementing that this spring.
What will that give you, that
Yeah.
you don't have now?
For me, it'll be an easy way to look up things that happened a while ago. We'll probably start with current new applications. It won't save me a lot of time, but when I'm, 5 years from now, when I want to find all the information to deal with a new application, it'll be all electronically stored in one spot, rather than going to the filing cabinets across the room, plowing through the paper files. It should save a lot of time in the, looking at the historical files.
Yep. And you don't have any capital requests this year?
Oh, big one.
Big one.
Oh, the master plan, is that in here?
100,000 master plan.
And then the other thing IT and I are working on now is try to get our zoning shown on the GIS mapping, on the people's list.
That would be great.
Oh, here.
Yeah, we have all of the parcel-specific data now in our GIS system, so we have the capability finally to start coding each lot with whatever zoning district it's in, or districts in some cases, so we can actually produce an electronic zoning map once that's done.
But doing that is outside the capabilities of the town, so it's back to the consultant, to people just probably to do that work.
Because we have to, we really do need to get a zoning.
The zoning map, yeah.
It's the pretty basic stuff, and we're finally almost there.
But don't do much persuasion to convince me. And I'm happy to see that the master plan is included here. 100,000, that I think as we've discussed preliminarily, Keith, that may not even be enough, right? I mean, depending
No, it's
on...
probably, I think that communities could easily spend $250,000 on a soup to nuts master plan. I would feel confident that we could probably spend $100,000 in a year.
Right.
And that if we get, we can certainly see what sort of a scope you can produce for that. I think issuing an RFP, getting proposals, and then having
So
that
closer to
information
town meeting
there.
would have a clear idea what the real cost would
Yeah,
be likely, and...
Yeah, and the background here, one of the Board of Selectmen's adopted goals this year was to support the updating of the master plan, which is a 2002 master plan. This has been an issue at the Economic Development Committee as well as the planning board, so as we get closer to...
The 300 Legacy Committee recommended that as well as one of
Yeah,
the...
so if we get to, as we get closer to town meeting, it would be well for us to have an RFP document where we can look at what a scope is for updating the plan and begin to get some firmer cost estimates on it. But it could easily be twice
Right,
that
depending upon what
cost.
we want to do
Yeah.
and who we go after, that sort of thing.
I mean,
Well, and I think which sections of it you key in on first.
Yeah, we're
I think-
approaching it in pieces. I'd mentioned earlier, we're updating the housing production plan. That basically is a $20,000 scope of work, which will be a lot of the data that could easily then be plugged into the housing component of the master plan.
And similarly, I think the open space part of it's been updated more recently than...
Yeah, and when we're updating it
Yeah.
again this year, so there are parts we can pull together, but...
I think if you recall in, 97, 98, when we did the goals and objectives, which is kind of the pre-master planning, I think that process went very well. But then we went to $35,000 for the updating the master plan.
Right.
We ended up with boilerplate that
Right.
not a lot of us bought into.
Share your pain on that.
Yeah.
Have you been talking to colleagues in other towns that maybe have done master plans recently? I just wonder, sometimes these things change and even what they cover from time to time.
The requirements have changed, but not real recently. Acton just went through.
I just mean the modes
Yeah,
of
Acton
doing
did
it.
it recently, and I know Maren had reached out to a lot of her counterparts through the listserv that the master planners
I just
have.
remember the last one as being so brutally outdated. I mean, you remember the, you know, you go up to the board with the crayon and, you know, and drawing of, you know, weird colors and whatever. For this, we're paying $100,000, you know.
Crayons are expensive.
No, for
Yeah,
that we paid
it was-
35.
Well, I'll plan to ask the MAPC staff for some assistance in helping us pull the RFP document together, that we're still able to rely on them for assistance, and I think they could help guide the process. They would not update the plan. For that, we really need to hire an outside consultant, but they certainly know what a complete plan looks like. They deal with us a lot, and I think could help shape the scope.
Just having been there before, it's like it can be a tremendous tool for the town, but you gotta get it done right.
Yeah, I would think of the same thing. Is this isn't a place where we want to be penny wise and pound foolish. We have to do this well. And we have to include all segments of the community and incorporate it in, one, because, you know, it will be our guidance document, but two, if we do it well, it lasts a long time. And so I think that's where we need to go.
Okay. So your operating budget doesn't reflect too much other than the expenses you mentioned, the capital, happy to see that included, and anything else?
Happy to answer any questions.
Okay, any
I'm not good
members?
at.
That's fine, done terrific, as usual. FinCom members, selectmen?
Be working on marijuana, working while we're on marijuana, I guess. We'll be updating the medical marijuana zoning bylaw between now and town meeting. And,
Oh, how about legal? Planning board involved in much litigation these days?
No.
Oh.
Did you have anything in mind?
And that's a
any
relative,
decisions
a relative
that were-
statement.
That doesn't
as well.
really, well,
I'll
I'll
go
just keep my
figure.
mouth
Yeah,
shut
yeah.
there.
Right. No,
I know.
It's nice to be able to draw on Chris's expertise for, you know, some of the questions that are beyond what I know. It's been a good thing to have him as backup.
Good.
Right. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Hello, Roland, thank you for joining us.
Hi,
Did you ride down?
I was going to.
What happened?
I chickened out.
Why?
I don't know, I may go back and get it.
It was too warm out?
It was too nice out to ride down?
You didn't want to sweat in your leather jacket?
You know, I like to get, yeah, no.
Oh, I'm surprised. I thought you perfect day
I
for
almost
it.
did, I almost took it down. For those that don't know me, I think you all do, I'm the building commissioner, Roland Bernier, the building department. The simple summary to my budget, it's a small budget, as far as expenses go, is that we're level funded and level staffed. There's a slight increase for steps, and there's a slight decrease in expenses due to a summer, rearrangement with the town vehicle. I no longer take it home, it stays right in the parking lot. So that's a nice cost savings. We have had a robust year this year, and I'm pretty happy with that. Similar to what Savis had said, with his department, we are completely covered by the fees that we take in.
But it's not structured as an enterprise, right? I mean,
No,
not appropriate.
No, because the rest of the general government wants some of those fees.
Okay.
Rely on it.
Just wanted to,
Building
I wasn't
permit
arguing
fees,
for that, I just
it's,
wanted the explanation out
He's
there.
a-
It does go into the general fund.
He's a
but
cash crop.
So
for
you help
us,
carry the rest of the team.
I carry everybody.
As he tells us quite often.
We've had a robust year. It's been very good. And we have, right across the street here, we have The Point, which is going very well, and it's very manageable. We have some good contractors and good developers over there, and I'm very pleased with that. Surprisingly, 53A Road, which you're all aware, Fever, is moving into the pre-stress building, another quality company.
Did you know they were gonna be deadheading the end of that road that exits onto New Estate? that a lot of us use to come off of,
No, I didn't.
No, yeah, they did.
Well, they deadhead it, you mean,
They put cement blocks at the end of the access onto New Estate Road.
I just went in there.
Access onto New Estate.
Yeah,
Off
from
of,
FEMA.
When did they do
Off
that?
their lot.
I don't know.
off their lot.
Off their lot.
Off their private property.
I just drove through
It's
there.
outrageous, isn't it?
Well, I mean, if they have a site plan that's approved that shows a curb cut there, then do they just, get the right to willy-nilly block it off?
We're not done with it.
Okay. Open it up again, would you?
Okay.
It's a work in progress.
I'll take a look at it.
Okay.
We actually, this past Friday, gave them occupancy for the office up front. So they're moving in there, but now they're starting on their warehouse out back, in their production, which is huge. It's just huge. It's going to be quite a facility.
Yeah, I mean, just given the number of warehouses, on a serious note, there's a lot of roads that enter out to that, what is that one road called there?
The distribution way.
Distribution way. So I think having the emergency or daily access to that other access point would be,
I have to tell you, did they just do that,
Inconvenient.
though? Did they just do that?
tried it yesterday, and
Yeah, because Friday, I drove through there.
I went through and I was like, whoa, I can't get out anymore. Anyway.
We'll look at it. I mean, if it's part of the site plan, they'll have to correct that. That's no big deal. They're easy to
But
work
that's not
with.
why you're here.
That's why you're here.
I thought that was a pretty good, pretty good recovery
I
to
was
say
going with
emergency
budget.
access.
Well, I mean, something comes to mind, you want to seize the moment, so, all right.
Let's see, what else could I talk about? Maureen touched a little bit upon some software we're looking at. I don't think it's a surprise that I've been very stubborn about adopting new software in my department. But I think we found it. This software operates the way I operate, which I think is the right way. And so it should be an easy integration
Afraid to
with what
ask.
we have.
Methodically
And with attitude.
and with detail.
Okay. And what does it provide for us, and including Maureen, is in the highway department and police department and everyone, is that it tracks the permit from the very beginning of the development of the property to the very end, and then it works seamlessly with our GIS system.
You don't currently have that, huh?
I have a database that I designed in 1987.
I remember you were-
And it's dying on me, so we have to do something.
And it's not cross-department.
Okay, well, that's
Oh,
important
definitely
to
not.
have that, yeah.
Yep. So this is good, just going to make this, the whole process seamless, and everyone's going to be able to have input.
Light
real
and water
time.
too?
What's that?
Light and water connected into that? too?
Everybody. Everybody's going to have an opportunity to weigh in on an application if they wish. So it makes my job just a little easier. I don't have to dig for the information. Presently, I probably have 6 or 7 entities in town, such as the planning board, conservation, highway, where the applicant has to hand carry the information to them, get their signatures, just to make everybody aware that, this is going to happen. But with this new electronic software, everyone's going to have availability to the information. So we're pretty excited. I'm pretty excited. I don't know about everybody else.
Will the Board of Assessors have access to it?
Yep. Oh,
How
very
much
much
is this
so.
software?
Oh, yeah.
How much is
So
this
that they
software?
can start taxing.
I don't know the exact amount.
I
It's
mean,
around
yes.
50,000.
Yeah.
50,000?
Yeah.
Does that go in your budget or does that go in IT budget?
IT.
IT?
There's a revolving account that was set up a few years ago. It takes a percentage, 7% of the permitting fees that come in.
Okay.
Get put into this account and it pays for the software.
We have been carrying that 7% for quite some time and haven't used it, so this is going to be a good opportunity to
Good.
use it.
All right.
What's it called? What's the software program called?
CityView. It's been around for a while, but it hasn't perfected, and now I think we're at that point where it really works well. We're having a seminar on it, as a matter of fact, the IT person, myself, we're going to see comparison to other software, including People GIS, which the town has looked at already.
Well, Roland, we have ZBA and Board of Health down in the same slot with you. Were you speaking on behalf of them, or is Bonnie doing that?
Okay, I thought Sherry Gould was going to show up. She said she wanted to show up. I just as soon say something brief about the
You're
Board of
not on the
Health.
schedule till 2:15, so, I mean, she may well show up in a few minutes.
Okay. Board of Health is the same as the building department, level funded, level staffed. Slight increase, I think they mentioned, for, like $300 for,
What these 3 departments have in common is Michelle.
Right.
Right.
Shelley is the full-time administrative assistants, who is shared across the 3 budgets. And I think it's working out, as far as I can see, it's working out famously.
She's invaluable.
Yeah.
She's just perfect fit. And, you know, I give the credit to Mr. Bergman here for convincing me that this is the way we should go, because I balked at first. I didn't like the idea. But it works just beautifully.
She covers Board of Health meetings, ZBA meetings, and just to have that knowledge available
She's
during
able-
the rest of the workday.
She's able to step in
Yeah.
different departments and say, no, you can't do that, because this department over here hasn't allowed it.
Out of the silos.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good.
The Board of Health did not request an increase in their
Yeah.
operating budget. The only increase that's programmed in there is a step increase, which is about a $700 amount. And on the Neshoba Nursing Service assessment, there's a $375 increase programmed for next year. All of the other assessments, right now, we haven't received formal notification on them yet, so they're level funded.
Okay.
Neshoba Associated Board of Health, that's our big one. That stayed level the last few years. They've been kind of sensitive to budgetary issues.
Right. Well, there's less activity out there. No? There's not?
It's been fairly busy.
Oh, good. And CDA? Bonnie?
Oh, let's see, so I believe it was-
That's fine, you're not responsible.
Yeah, ZBA, there's just, there's actually a decrease in their operating budget expense. They're going from 1,200 to 1,000. And their salary wages total goes up slightly, so it's actually a $55 reduction overall. They're not a huge budget, it's $53.85 for the year, but, you know, they did submit it with a slight reduction in expenses. And last year, they did not use all of their expenses, so I think it can be supported based on the staffing that they're using.
So they're the first ones today who can make that claim.
They went.
They get the gold star,
Good, yeah.
which will cost $55 to install.
Well, a lot of the expenses that are incurred by the ZBA, they're able to pass on to the applicant.
Sure.
So,
Yeah.
and they've been very busy, and there's been a ton of money that's been expended by the applicants to be able to do the things that have come before ZBA. That's going to be happening again soon. This Thursday, Omni is bringing modifications to 15 Great Road forward to the ZBA for a determination of whether those changes are substantial or not. If they are, which they most certainly, I haven't seen them, but I'm told that they will be substantial, and that would then require a public hearing, which hopefully can take place around December 19th or something, so that the, I mean, our goal, as we said at town meeting, is to have Omni pull its building permits for 15 Gray Road by February. And along the way, it looks like they are seeking modifications to their existing plan. We haven't seen what the changes are yet, but there'll be a lot more. So there'll be further activity at the ZBA in the very near future.
All right. That's it. Unless anyone has any further questions for Roland?
I have a ZBA question, not necessarily at Roland, but is there money allocated for them to have training? I know way back when I was in the Board of Appeals, every once in a while I'd go to a conference about certain things.
They have a $1,000 expense budget, of which any training would come out of it. Like I said, last year, they used about $450 of their expense budget in total. So it's available to them if they want to. We did, you know, they used to incur additional costs for advertising and mailing, but we pushed that cost to the applicant now, so that's kind of why it's freed up their expenses a little bit.
All right, thank you.
But if there were training opportunities that ZBA or planning or any of the regulatory boards wanted to avail themselves to, and if the budget was tight, we would, look to support that funding for them.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Who shaved his mustache first? You or Savas? Because for 30 years, you guys both had mustaches, and now, boom.
About 6 months ago. It was like white like yours.
You decided no more.
Yeah, we had
That's a bad thing?
Yeah,
I couldn't see it except for under fluorescent.
we had Gillette bidding
Thank you,
on
Rolf.
both of them as well.
Yeah.
They-
Okay, well, we're doing pretty good time-wise. We're not certain, Bonnie, if someone's coming from Conservation?
I'm not sure, I did send Heather a
Yeah,
note.
but we do have Pam here, so would you like to come on up, Pam?
Come on down.
Yes.
Come on down.
All right. Thank you for coming on a little earlier than expected. We're running ahead of schedule, which is a good thing.
Well, thank you for having me come down.
Yep.
I'm Pamela Campbell. I'm the Director of Elder and Human Services. I was here last year as the interim director. Nice to be back as the permanent
Welcome.
director to talk to you about what we're doing.
So we have a pretty loose format. You can just tell us whatever you want to tell us, as long as it includes somewhere along the way your budget requests, capital requests, and such.
Well, it's been very interesting to spend a year looking at what's going on with Elder and Human Services. We focus a lot on the elder piece because everyone's very aware of the Council on Aging, but the human service piece has grown immensely. And in your packets, you received some information talking about some of the number increases, like 128% increase in inquiries from non-elders. Tina Mader, our outreach worker, works with everyone, feeling the needs there. As you can imagine, with what's going on with the economy, we get a lot of fuel assistance requests. There are some pools of assistance there. It's hard to find them frequently, and sometimes it's a very difficult path to negotiate, and they need a lot of help filling out applications, faxing things in, that sort of thing. Right now, we even have 2 senior tax workers who are helping us with that. This is the crunch time for that program. You'll see that I've made a request to increase Tina's hours to address some of the issues that we're having around outreach. Tina works 30 hours a week. I would like to increase her to 40 hours a week so we can begin to offer evening hours. What we're finding is that we are getting more what you'd call the working poor, people who are really struggling and trying to keep jobs, and they just don't have enough money to deal with, in some cases, fuel assistance, obviously, because that keeps going up and up. Food is another issue with people. They can't get in during our regular hours. We're open 8:30 to 4:30. We're open some evenings and some weekends, but those are primarily programming hours. So Tina and I have talked about making Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday available with evening hours, both for the working poor, and we're getting more and more requests from the children of elders who are working, and again, can't get away from work to come in to talk about the next step in dealing with their parents. The seniors can usually get in during the day, so that's not much of an issue. But all of the support activities that go on, all the other pieces of outreach, we're really challenged with that. So I've made the request to please increase Tina's hours.
Just a couple of things on that. One is that the Council on Aging also unanimously voted to support the request for increasing the outreach workers' hours. And in fact, I'd have to say that's been a hope for many years to be able to increase Tina's hours, and it's only been because Tina had not up until recently been in the position where she could take on those additional hours that we were even. That's the only reason why you haven't
Would've
seen
come up
that request
earlier if it
before.
worked earlier,
You would have
yeah.
seen
Right.
requests for full-time hours for Tina if she had been able to accept those hours, and we. Because the need is there. Tina is the key person in the organization who deals with all of all age groups in human services, and so it's so as we go through the budget process, this is certainly one of the higher priorities for you to consider.
The second request that I've made to you is around transportation. And you probably know that we run a robust transportation program. I've been working a lot with Keith, and I've had the chance to find out what other towns are doing, and we're doing a lot. We run 2 vans every day, and they run the entire day, from 8:30 in the morning till close to 4 o'clock. Better than 50% of those runs are medical, people going to medical appointments, X-ray, et cetera. The remainder, shopping, some socialization kinds of things. And then we also bring people to the center, which is really important for them to get in for our nutrition program at lunchtime, and also to participate in activities if they're not able to get out. I'm sure you've heard from Keith before, I don't need to give you the whole song and dance. Littleton is suburban, we don't have any public transportation, and this is what people rely on. Last year, we were fortunate, and Mart gave us a van so that we could run that second van and retire a van that did not have a wheelchair lift. So right now, we have 2 vans, both with wheelchair lift, which facilitates both the scheduling process and also just getting people around. We have quite a few people who are disabled and are not able to easily exit a private vehicle. It was very generous of Mart to make that available to us. However, it has 250,000 miles on it, and we've spent this year in excess of $3,500 for repairs, and the last time it was in, they told us that we need to be thinking about a complete brake job. We have a gift fund with money for a van. So I'm making the request to you to ask you to allow us to purchase a replacement van, not a new van. I'd like to get a used van. Both fire and police, I've talked with them, they recently purchased vans. They tell me there's a very robust market out there. You think about all the assisted living places and how they turn over their vehicles. So I'm confident that we can find something without too much difficulty at all. Again, to replace exactly what we have. Less than 14 passengers, so that my drivers don't have to have a special license, and with wheelchair lift. We could retrofit if we needed to, but everyone assures me that we'll be able to find something out there.
So you're looking to fund the entirety of that purchase from the your
the gift
existing
fund.
gift fund?
Yes.
Yeah. It's an easy ask.
About how much do you think? What's the range of price for?
I'm thinking $15,000 to $20,000. We have 42, does that sound right?
47.
Yes. So there's a generous amount of money there. And that's what we're using to pay for all the repairs. So I'm also looking at that and thinking, ooh, I hate drawing down on that account. And this would be a replacement. We would still be just running the 2 vans.
What is the process for, these are gift funds, they're in town funds?
Yes,
It's
in a separate account in my general ledger.
Okay.
And
So
the
it gets
donor had a
appropriated like other
specific
things?
purpose
Yeah.
that they stated needed to be used for either a replacement van or repairs to the van. So that's what we make sure that it's spent on.
So it's,
But the gift funds, the law lets the Board of Selectmen vote to receive the gifts, set up a special fund, and then we can appropriate, we can spend from that gift fund without further appropriation, which means without a vote of town
so we as a
meeting.
Board of Selectmen, I'm just trying to understand where you have to go
It
to
would
get the
be-
approval.
It would,
Okay.
yeah, it would
All
be
right,
Board of
just wanna
Selectmen.
understand
More
what it was.
courtesy that it's even in here.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
it's part of
Which we
the, it's
appreciate.
part of the complete financial
Sure.
picture. I mean,
Yep.
there are, we get to use MART funds, MBTA
Yep.
funds, as well as, municipal funds to make up all the things that we do.
If everybody
So-
did that, would have a clearer understanding of how everything works. Anything further on program or?
Oh, well, I want to show you guys a picture.
Oh.
This shows how we've grown in providing rides. This starts just back at the very end of 2011, and this is current. And we're, on this side, we were at about 200 rides a month, and at this side, last month, we did 450 rides.
Incredible.
So we've had a real increase in need and usage, and this would directly really provide an excellent service to people. I've driven that other van, and it's pretty rough.
And Pam, that's not just elders then, too, that's available to other people who would need it?
It's
How does that
available
work?
to elders and the disabled.
Disabled, okay.
So we have a range of people who ride. Right now, I'm thinking of a blind lady who rides to Loaves and Fishes.
But the project I talked about earlier, Crosstown Connect, its goal ultimately is to provide transportation options for everyone, including the target populations of the elderly and disabled. So,
And again, the board voted to support this request.
Alan?
Transportation. You mentioned in here that MART is going to be regionalizing the dispatch
That's correct.
system. Currently, we have an in-house dispatch system.
Yes.
Things that get regionalized don't usually work as well as in-house systems, but
It's not
are you
Mart,
concerned about that?
yeah, it's not Mart that's regionalizing it, it's the Crosstown Connect that's regionalizing it.
6 towns, right, that you guys are-
Yeah, it's not through our regional transit authority, but rather, and the, Acton is the lead community, our consultant that is setting up the Crosstown Connect is Transaction Associates. They brought online Metro West and other systems before. Acton is going first, Boxborough next, as far as adding towns into a regional dispatch. Littleton will go third. I've asked not to advance it sooner than that because I want to make sure that whatever operational issues that Acton and Boxborough encounter during their shakedown period, we are the beneficiary of working that out. I've had great feedback from the town of Sudbury and others who have undergone similar transitions where it's gone off very well, and that the increased service that results from having that is critical. I mean, part of it is that we have all of this equipment that's out there for the councils on aging in the area, and we'll have real-time information. Someone who goes out in the morning won't simply have the list that was prepared the night before. They will have automated, real-time information that can get updated throughout the day. So the next place that the driver goes will be the next place that the dispatcher can direct them, even if it wasn't where he thought he was going to go when he was preparing his list the night before. So,
And if this works as planned, we will have increased service, because instead of having to plan so far in advance, they will be able to provide same-day service if it's feasible, if the van is available. Right now, it's very difficult for us to squeeze someone in if they call in the morning for an afternoon. But as
and
Keith
we're
said,
also-
they have this software that
yeah,
just...
and we're also
automatically-
looking to do coordination with several councils on aging at once, so that if we've got, rather than have each COA van from each town carrying precisely one passenger to the same location, if there's the opportunity through the centralized dispatch to make more use out of the equipment, then we want to be able to do that. Or if someone has to stay longer and you have to dispatch the other vehicle to go and get them, rather than having one driver devote his entire day waiting for the person to be ready to come back. So we think it will be greatly enhanced service that will be available as a result of this investment.
But this regionalization is strictly for council on aging, not...
For the centralized dispatch.
What we're looking at, yes.
Yeah, the centralized dispatch portion is to regionalize the COAs. But it's one of the things, it's one of the tasks that the Crosstown Connect TMA is working on.
Now, that, you mentioned that I have a dispatcher. I have a half-time dispatcher, and his services will no longer be needed as a dispatcher under this system. And I'm working on some arrangements. I'd like to really keep him, if that's possible. It makes no impact money-wise because he is covered by MART, and MART just diverts those funds now to the centralized dispatch function.
So is this still part of the 2015 you talked about earlier, or is this?
No, this is going to be 2014.
Okay.
Yeah, next year.
Yeah, maybe February.
Early next year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Anything further for
Well,
Elder and Human Services as we're
I
now
have one
calling
other
it?
item that
Okay,
I need to bring up, and this was my mistake entirely in not getting this to you all fast enough.
Bonnie, aware of it?
Yes.
Oh, yes. This is the kitchen, the kitchen renovation. And I have a narrative here for the van purchase, if you'd like that.
Sure.
Okay, to quickly recap on the kitchen, there was an original project that was planned, and $32,000 was set aside for that. But that project was around, the documentation is a little sparse on that, but I believe it was around things like swapping out some appliances. And there was an incident in early fall of last year, and the fire department came in and had a few things to say about the kitchen. From that, I've been working now with the PMBC. We have initiated a formal project. We used some of that $32,000 to bring in a design firm to address the code violation issues. They came back with a very, shall I say, robust plan, which I don't think was bad. It included all the things that needed to go on in the kitchen, but they also addressed the bathrooms, making them ADA compliant, and they suggested some things in the dining area, which are not critical by any means. We've pulled back from that to just the code items, which are listed on the sheet. And they're a mixture of things. Some of them are fire kinds of things. There is no fire suppression over the range. The hood that's there is a home-style hood. It's not adequate by any means. It's also not vented to the outside. There are some violations that fit in with the food handling. Minuteman Senior Services provides us with Gail, who runs our kitchen, does an awesome job with that. However, they have a few things that they would like to see, like a separate hand wash sink. And since that kitchen was last renovated, it's now code to require a 3-well for dishes, not 2-well. A commercial dishwasher that sanitizes. We're all much more concerned now than we ever were about transmittable diseases. So the figure stands at around $140,000 right now to make the changes that need to be made and meet all of the code aspects. The kitchen is a crucial part of our nutrition program. And I think I put some numbers in here of how many people come in. Oh, maybe I didn't.
359 meals last month.
Right, yes, that kind of thing. And that's not counting Meals on Wheels. An equal number go out as Meals on Wheels that are distributed to people, and we prepare them in our kitchen. Again, we're allowed to do that because Minuteman has their food handler there who has the safe handling certification. And actually, she and I are talking, I'm going to also get the safe handling certification so we can boost our numbers. That will allow us to increase the number of people that we can serve, to have 2 people who are trained. It would be a huge impact on Littleton seniors if they were not able to come. Even if we shifted to someplace else, if we could locate another site, it would be difficult. Changing the venue would be difficult. It's very convenient to have it in the building. And then there are lots of other kinds of things that happen using the kitchen. Some of you were at the Veterans Luncheon this week. There are different groups that use it, and the PMBC has mentioned to me that there's been discussion about that kitchen becoming the backup emergency site. Evidently, with Russell Street, there's the potential that it actually could be within the perimeter of some kinds of problems and might not be appropriate for use. But that kitchen would be available.
Is there a more detailed breakdown of that 140,000 beyond the item here?
I do not have it. PMBC has been working with Design Associates on that. You'd like to see it broken down?
Yeah, just, I mean, from what you were saying, it all sounds like legitimate things to fix. You know, a few
90% of the stuff is things that you're going to have to buy, so they kind of know what a stove costs and what.
Right.
Like the suppression system that goes over the stove in itself is $10,000.
Yeah, I've seen a breakdown someplace, but I don't remember where it was.
And then the installation is complicated because everything's masonry.
But I mean, a commercial washing machine, a stove, a hood, and a few sinks, $140,000.
Oh, there's
Using PMBC as my guidance.
Yeah, well, maybe we should get a second and third quote somewhere.
We kind of talked about that, Keith, at one point, getting
I
a
mean-
second quote in.
Really, why not? You gotta get a contractor and say, what would it take to do the following?
The only thing that I was going to make a comment about is you said that everyone knows COA, but not everyone knows about the Elder and Human Services aspect of it, specifically the Human Services aspect. And I don't know if it makes sense for us to start talking about it by calling it what it is, so that people realize, oh, it's not just for folks of a particular age, it's human services across the board. So I don't know if there's a name you'd like us to attach when you're referring to the department that you run? Is there, I mean, should we be calling it Elder and Human Services?
It is called
Okay.
Elder and
It
Human
is, yeah.
Services.
So we should really try to call it that and not COA all the time.
But that is a recent change, so.
There
That is recent.
There is a good reason for doing that, because
I think you'd want to be a board member,
traditionally
Steve.
and ongoing,
Chair.
the COA part of it
Hello.
is the greater part of it. And the seniors in town who use that department look for it to be called what it is, the Council on Aging.
Sure.
And the people who Pam reports to is a board called the Council on Aging. So there's a good reason to use both the terms. Appropriately, the official term is Elder and Human Services.
For the department. But there is a committee called the Council on Aging,
Exactly.
which is the advocate for our senior population. Both entities exist, and both are important players in
So that's why
Yeah.
we do that.
You raise an interesting
Because
specter,
when
though.
we need votes to support a town meeting, I'm going to call the Council on Aging, I'm not going to call the Department of Elder and Human
It's
Services.
recognized that way. I was recently at a conference for the Massachusetts Council on Aging, and a great deal of discussion there about the boomers. And Council on Aging is not a term that appeals to them.
So this is all marketing.
There is that piece to it, you know, how do you sound like a place where people feel like they belong?
Yeah, we'll have
Call it Mensa.
We'll start
More people will show
branding
up.
us, yeah.
Right,
All right, you might want to recognize, we were ahead of schedule, so we started a little early with Pam's budget, or your budget, but you want to,
Hi, Louise, how are you?
This is Louise Curley, who
Chairman?
just recently became chair of the Board of the Council on Aging, which is a portion of, as we
So
just
when I need the
described.
votes, I'm calling Louise.
right.
Right, exactly.
Everything Pam presented was favorably received. We're going to kick the tires on the estimates on the work for the kitchen a little bit, maybe get the same work done a little cheaper, but at least that would be something we would hope you'd look at. Other than that, any further questions? Alex?
I want to engage the senior tax work-off discussion a little bit. How, the demand for that, where is the demand for that? Where do you see it being? And yeah, we've been fortunate enough to be able to give it continued funding. Where is the optimum level of funding for that?
We run a very large senior tax work-off program. You've been generous, the town has been generous. There's $55,000 allotted to that. I expect to spend all of it this year. I have 107 senior tax workers who are spread out in various departments across the town. I think it's a very win-win situation. The seniors get some tax relief. This year it'll be somewhere in the vicinity of $700, a little less than $700 on their tax bill, processed as an abatement. They work at $8 an hour, minimum wage. There aren't a lot of tax benefits for seniors in this state. This is nice to have this benefit available. The departments get a great deal out of this as well, though, or at least that's what they tell me. I have many departments where people come back year after year, they're well-trained, they know their jobs well, and the departments tell me that they do jobs that if they didn't have the senior tax worker, would not get done. Sometimes they function in receptionist-type jobs. I actually use several as my receptionist because I'm not funded to have someone to answer my phone or to greet people when they come to the door. And if I'm in meetings or not available, that's a really important welcoming function to be able to field people's requests. Where it's going, well, I guess that's up to the town and to the Board of Selectmen on how much you want to support it and continue to support it. There has been some discussion of something called the Sudbury option. I don't know if you have talked about that at all. I guess in Sudbury, they came up with a tax relief plan for seniors that was slaved to the circuit breaker. They sort of used those guidelines to indicate who might be eligible and to help them to decide how much would be available. And that might be another way to provide relief to all seniors in town. New this year, we can have people work for another senior in the program. So if there's a senior who is not able to do their work, they can have a neighbor, a family member do the work for them. And I have 2 that are doing that right now. Does that begin to speak to what you were asking?
Well, yeah, that was a Sudbury program, actually. I'm glad you brought that up. But, so the funding as we have it now, you expect to use it all. Is the demand going to exceed the funding? Are you going to turn people away?
I didn't have to turn people away this year. So far, it's been pretty balanced. I don't know. Maybe next year. Might have to.
I don't want to see that data.
Bonnie?
What we do rather than turn
Make sure
people
there's
away is we reduce the
Well,
amount
you
that they
yeah, you
receive.
take the total number of applicants and then divide it by, I mean, you have, what we typically know going in is, what's the
Dollar
total
amount.
dollar value of
Right.
the program? It's 55,000 this year.
55.
So you take the total number of eligible employees divided by, divide the total available by that number, and you come up with
Up to a maximum of, what is it?
your 700. Well, the
The
statute
maximum is
allows up to 1,000.
1,000, right, but we don't
haven't
come close
any-
to that.
We're close to that because there's been such, because of the interest in the program and the dollar limit of,
So in order to fully
55,000.
fund it, it would need to be funded at $107,000, and we're funding it at $55,000,
To give everyone
In
1,000.
order to give
In order to
all
hit the maximum
107
benefit.
participants $1,000.
But we've
worth.
never
That would
pursued
assume they all
that
want
Yeah.
to, they all want to put in
programmatically
many
anyway.
hours too,
We've
right?
done a couple over the last few years, a couple of increases.
Yeah.
I'm not opposed to looking at that again. But
And the Sudbury option, just, I did look into that a little bit, and my understanding of it is it almost works like a classification hearing, and then it pushes the tax burden to the other residential
Oh.
people.
Yeah.
So it's not
Yes.
an abatement per se, it's a
Yeah.
push.
It took us special legislation for Sudbury in it, and
Yeah.
the town doesn't raise any lower amount in taxes. If the seniors aren't paying it, it's because all the other residential.
Yeah, all right. Right now, we're just doing it through appropriation that nobody's arguing with and.
It's part of an abatement that we, it's.
Right, well,
the
but we
reserve
do have an article funded for it, right?
The town votes on it,
No?
yes.
No.
We vote on an article to enable it then, right? Is that, doesn't?
We used to in the
Okay.
past, we do not anymore. We did in the past because there was always some question on what's the amount.
Right,
We're very clear on what the amount is.
okay.
It does not require a town meeting vote.
Yeah. But
Because
it
it's
did,
part
it
of
did
the
used to, I just
abatement.
had forgotten that we'd
Yeah.
gotten away from that, and I don't know why.
The Sudbury option, does the town receive any benefit using that?
You mean like from the state or
Like under our
something?
option, we have people working.
Correct.
No, it's just a straight reduction in taxes.
Not an option.
what the
You heard it
Sudbury-
here first. Not an option in Littleton. We are
Well,
not
it
Sudbury.
gives people, not just the town gets
All right.
benefit. The person gets a benefit of feeling like they're doing something.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Have a place to
But
go.
It gets passed on. to
addresses
the
one
other-
issue.
Deal with.
Right.
And that is the rising taxes for seniors that forces them to move out of town.
All right.
That's the issue, the only issue it addresses.
But we have, we've covered the budget requests and capital requests, and we'll probably be following up with you on the capital stuff, looking for more
I'm
information.
always happy to talk with you guys. The money guys, I'm always happy to talk.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Thanks
coming,
in
Louise.
early.
All
You're
right.
welcome.
Thank you.
I think we're probably on our last contestant. We ran out of money, you know?
Yeah, no, we had $55 surplus for ZBA, so.
Don't tell me that. I'll let kids be hungry.
Okay. Well, what we're asking folks to do is just, for our television audience, state who you are, who you're representing, and how you want to present your budget is entirely up to you, as long as somewhere along the way you include your requests.
Okay. Heather Hampson, Conservation Commission. The budget that was we were allowed to do was the level staffing and the mission budget. My hopes is for the mission budget. If you look at the projected for fiscal 2014 at 75, permits. It's actually probably gonna be more than that. Usually this time of year, it slows down. It gets busy because people are trying to get everything filed before ground freezes, because when snow cover conservation can't issue permits because we can't see wetlands and we can't do auger samples with frost in the ground. I've had 12 in the last 3 meetings, opening public hearings.
Really?
Yes.
What kind of homes or?
Well, one of them, one larger one is actually the Sanderson property. And when that actually goes to get built, with the issues that we've had over on Chestnut, I can imagine those happening again. And I've spent quite a bit of time going out on that along with the commission themselves. So this, and the mission budget's only asking for an additional 4 hours. I only work 4 days a week, so just an extra hour a day. So it'd be a nice, easy, quick way to do it, an extra hour a day. The extra $100 in the expenses would be to cover the MACC dues, which is the Massachusetts Association of Conservation Commissions. When I started 5 years ago, the dues was right around, I think, $200 or $250. It's actually almost doubled that. I'm paying about $450. And we actually had changed. The board was great. We had them for quite a long time, and we've had some changes in members. So I actually currently have 3 new members that are going through all their fundamentals now. So those dues are necessary to cover those 3 new members of the 7 that I have. So that's where that extra 100 is to come, just to try to offset that. I guess that's it. I don't know if you have any other questions for me.
Bonnie, was there anything else in there that?
No, there's a portion of the conservation budget that is funded from the wetland fees, about 50 to almost 5,300 annually.
And we actually had gone before the selectmen back in, I think, April, to raise our fees.
Yep.
So that money that's being put in is actually increased, which will help offset the increase in the hours as well. We've increased our fees by anywhere from $10 to, I think, about $100, depending on the permit. So that would help offset the additional requested funds as well.
So I can look at the revenue stream since the fee adjustment and see if it's something that can be offset.
If it's not, it should be relatively close.
Take guidance from Bonnie, heavy on this, I'm sure. Members, selectmen, finance committee?
We're all tired.
I'm sure. I tried to get here earlier.
We ran out of money.
I'm getting worried. The last discussion, we're just starting to wander. I mean, good topics, but come on.
That's right.
No, mine's usually fairly simple.
So first group to go, we had lots of questions we ran over at this point.
No, mine's never been much of an issue. Mine's been fairly simple. This year I've been very excited to actually ask for extra hours because it has been so busy. And even too with the financial slump that we've had, we actually had more enforcement orders. So I usually have 1 a year. Now we're looking at almost 2 to 3 a year, which caused a lot of office hours as well.
Great. Well, thank you. Thank you for coming out.
Okay.
Bonnie, we never heard back formally from CPC that they were going to be here, right?
No, I did not. I sent them 2 email
And
addresses.
did everyone else RSVP that they were going to come? So that was part of the expectation.
You're
All
late
right.
anyway, if you're supposed to be here.
Yeah, right.
Well
So,
done.
That's good. Yep. Thanks to all. And I made this comment last year. I think it applies again this year. When you see it all in one day, with both the volunteers and the employees of the town, what a lot of great little pieces that make up a great whole. And the town's well served and the money's well spent.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for giving up your Saturday.
Yeah, well, it's not over. It's
Oh,
only
it's not
quarter
over. Let's
3.
get out
Plenty
there.
of time to do, I don't know.
Sun doesn't go
Now
down
we're
for
half a
another
daylight
45
anyway.
I said earlier, I'm giving you Tuesday off, but you have to show up on Thursday, although the boss is
Oh,
taking
I
the
make
day
a motion to adjourn.
I already did, you have to second.
Oh, I'm just gonna second the motion that we adjourn.
All in favor? We got a few items to track out of
Officially
this.
adjourned, Paul, so we can-
We are, motion to adjourn?
Second.
Well,
I'll make a motion to
All right.
adjourn the meeting.
Good. That motion's been made by Chris, seconded by Betsy, and all those in favor?
Aye.